Welcome to my channel Femme Vision. The apartment was quiet, dimly lit by a single bedside lamp. Ryan had always liked it that way, low light, soft shadows, and the feeling that the world outside couldn't see him. To anyone else it might seem ordinary, but to him, it was a safe haven, a space where his secret passions could breathe. Tonight, the air carried a mixture of anticipation and nervous energy. He was about to attempt something he had never tried before, dressing completely in the dark. Ryan wasn't new to crossdressing. It had started as a private experiment in his late teens, a curiosity that grew into a personal ritual. Sometimes it was about self-expression, sometimes about escape, and other times about the thrill of exploring a side of himself that the world didn't know existed. His wardrobe reflected this journey: silk blouses, elegant skirts, delicate jewelry, and heels carefully hidden beneath the bed. Each piece held a story, a feeling, a moment of daring confidence. Tonight, though, he wanted more than familiarity. He wanted the challenge of relying on his instincts rather than sight. There was a certain thrill in trusting his hands, feeling the fabric, and letting his mind guide him. He imagined the sense of vulnerability it would bring, the possibility of mistakes, of surprises, of discovering something new about himself. His fingers brushed over the neatly folded outfits. He paused, inhaling the faint scent of perfume that lingered from past experiments. Choosing the right combination without being able to see would test not only his skill but also his courage. Silk against skin, stockings sliding over his calves, the soft click of heels, each sensation heightened in the absence of light. Isabella, his girlfriend, was away tonight for a late shift at her studio. Normally, Ryan felt a mix of guilt and excitement whenever she was absent. Guilt because he hid this side of himself, and excitement because it meant freedom, a window to explore without judgment. Their relationship was loving, but it was complicated. Isabella adored Ryan, yet he had never revealed the full extent of his crossdressing habits. The secret added a tension, a double life that thrilled and scared him simultaneously. He reached for the first piece, a delicate pink blouse. His hands traced the buttons, the texture of the fabric, ensuring nothing was twisted or out of place. His mind played through the sequence: blouse, skirt, stockings, heels, makeup. Every movement was deliberate, guided by touch and memory rather than vision. He could almost feel his reflection forming in the mirror, even though it remained unseen. Ryan's heart raced as he unwrapped the first pair of stockings. His fingers shivered slightly. Even in familiar surroundings, the darkness amplified every sensation. The silk felt cool and soft as it slid over his calves. He paused, taking a deep breath, the thrill of uncertainty electrifying his nerves. Each step deeper into the ritual brought him closer to a transformation that was both physical and psychological. He moved on to the skirt, a navy blue pleated piece he had worn only a few times before. Fingers grazing the waistband, he guided it upward, feeling the fabric settle snugly around his hips. The combination of textures, silk blouse, pleated skirt, smooth stockings, awoke a sense of anticipation he hadn't felt in months. This wasn't just about clothing, it was about becoming someone else, even if just for a night. Finally, the heels. They were black, modest yet elegant, and balanced carefully on the edge of the carpet. Placing his feet inside, he felt the familiar tension in his calves as he adjusted to the height. Walking in heels had always been a test of poise and patience, but tonight, it carried an extra layer of risk. In darkness, every step required confidence, intuition, and a touch of daring. Ryan paused for a moment, letting his hands brush over the delicate jewelry he would wear: earrings, a simple bracelet, and a subtle necklace. Each piece completed the transformation, adding layers of identity that he had carefully curated over time. Tonight, though, the dark would challenge him in ways the daylight never could. He took a deep breath, centering himself. The thrill was intoxicating, but a flicker of doubt crept in. What if he misjudged something? What if the textures didn't align as he imagined, or a piece of clothing twisted in a way that ruined the illusion? The stakes felt higher than ever, though no one else would see the consequences. At least he hoped not. As he reached for the makeup kit, a sense of exhilaration surged through him. Fingers brushing over brushes, powder, and lipstick, he felt a wave of vulnerability. Makeup in darkness was a gamble, a dance between instinct and imagination. Each stroke would reveal, conceal, or transform in ways that might surprise him. The final act of this ritual would be the face he presented to himself, and perhaps unknowingly to the world if a misstep occurred. Ryan's reflection remained hidden in the dark, but he could feel the transformation unfolding. Heart racing, palms slightly sweaty, he whispered to himself, "This is it, tonight I'll see who I really am." The room was silent except for the faint rustle of fabric and the steady beat of his heart. In that moment the line between curiosity and obsession blurred. He was ready to embrace the unknown, unaware that the darkness might carry consequences he could never have anticipated. The lights of the room remained off, leaving only the soft glow from the hallway filtering through the doorway. Ryan's fingers brushed over his carefully arranged wardrobe, each piece a test of memory and instinct. Dressing in the dark was more than a challenge, it was a gamble. The thrill of losing sight and relying on touch alone electrified him. He reached for the first piece, a flowing blouse with delicate lace sleeves. His hands memorized every fold, every texture, ensuring it wasn't twisted or misaligned. Sliding it over his shoulders, he felt the familiar sensation of silk against skin. The coolness made him shiver slightly, a mixture of excitement and anticipation coursing through him. Next, the skirt. Pleated and navy, it felt heavier than he remembered, sliding over his hips with a soft whisper of fabric. Every motion required attention, precision, and patience. He imagined how it would sway as he walked, how it would frame the softer silhouette he was slowly creating. His heart raced with a combination of nervousness and exhilaration. Stockings were next, and this was always the delicate part. He traced the sheer fabric up his calves, adjusting as he went. Every tug and stretch had to be exact. A wrinkle or twist would ruin the illusion. Yet in the darkness he had no visual guide. Each successful adjustment felt like a small victory, heightening his thrill and the stakes. The heels waited silently. Sliding his feet in, he felt the tension rise. The familiar wobble of balancing on heels was amplified by the lack of light. Each careful step was deliberate, a negotiation between fear and confidence. Ryan focused on the rhythm of movement, the click of the heels, the subtle sway of the skirt. Each sensation deepened his connection to the persona he was crafting. Then came the makeup, a test of memory and touch. Brushes ran across powder, blush, and lipstick, guided by the muscle memory he had built over months of private experimentation. Every stroke altered his face, each contour and highlight reshaping his features. He marveled at the way the transformation changed not just how he looked but how he felt. Confidence surged, mingled with vulnerability. But the thrill was not without its shadows. Doubts gnawed at him. What if he misjudged a brushstroke? What if something was off and he couldn't see it until it was too late? The tension made every moment feel like walking a tightrope. And then he felt it. A slight imbalance in the heels, a subtle tug on the skirt. Panic flashed through him. The darkness had already begun to betray him. Shaking slightly, he corrected the minor mishap. But the fear of exposure, even in solitude, pressed down like a weight. Every sound became amplified. The soft rustle of fabric, the creak of a floorboard, the rapid beat of his heart. The mind, now fully alert, began imagining what might happen if someone stumbled in, if the experiment went wrong, if his secret was discovered. Despite the anxiety, the rush of transformation was intoxicating. He looked down, though only in imagination, and saw the curves and contours taking shape, the persona he had been longing to embody. Each movement, each adjustment, each subtle sway made him feel alive in a way he had never known. Then the first real twist happened. As he reached for a bracelet, he realized something impossible. The room felt different. Not just the light but the textures, the sounds, the very air seemed to shift. His hands brushed over something unfamiliar, a subtle alteration to the fabric of his clothes. Panic surged. Had he mislaid a piece? Was he imagining things? Or had the darkness actually changed something beyond his control? Ryan froze, heart hammering. The thrill was now intertwined with genuine fear. He paused, taking deep breaths, forcing his mind to focus on what he could control. The clothing, the heels, the makeup, the persona forming under his fingertips. As he continued, subtle changes began to emerge in his body. A softening of features he hadn't expected. A lightness in his steps. A delicate sway in his posture that felt natural. Confusion mixed with exhilaration. Was this part of the ritual, or had the darkness done something else entirely? Every moment became a test of balance and awareness. The dress shifted, the heels teetered, makeup smudged slightly, but Ryan pressed forward, committed to completing the transformation. The thrill of uncertainty heightened every sensation. The brush against his skin, the click of heels, the delicate feel of the fabric sliding over his body. Then the first true suspense struck. A faint sound, almost imperceptible, echoed from beyond the door. Ryan's pulse leapt. Could be anything. A neighbor, someone returning early. But in that suspended moment, it represented ultimate exposure. Panic and excitement merged. He froze, realizing the stakes were no longer just personal, they could become public, catastrophic even. Adjusting the wig, he felt the full transformation coalesce. The persona he had been crafting for months, and now completing in darkness, stood revealed only to himself. Yet the risk of discovery hovered like a shadow. Every movement became intentional, cautious, yet bold. Every step was a negotiation between fear and desire. By the end of the session, Ryan's transformation was nearly complete. He felt softer, lighter, almost unrecognizably himself. The thrill of achievement blended with the terror of the unknown. Dressing in the dark had begun as a challenge, a test of skill and courage, but it had become something far more profound, an uncontrolled, irreversible shift in identity. The darkness had shifted from being a challenge to becoming a trap. Ryan moved cautiously, every step amplified by the uncertainty around him. The soft sway of the skirt and the subtle click of heels were no longer just sensations of transformation. They were signals of vulnerability. Every sound seemed louder, every shadow more menacing. His fingers grazed the final pieces of jewelry, earrings and a delicate bracelet. As he fastened them, a sudden misstep sent his heels slipping slightly. Panic flared, heart racing. The dress shifted, and for a brief instant he feared it might twist or tear. The tension of relying solely on touch now became a test of nerve and poise. He steadied himself, drawing in deep breaths, feeling the weight of the full transformation pressing on him. The first real obstacle struck when he realized his makeup smudge, a subtle smear of lipstick along the corner of his mouth. In the dark, correcting it felt impossible. Every attempt made it worse, the sensation of failure mingling with thrill. He could almost hear Isabella's voice, her teasing and affectionate remarks echoing in his mind. If she were here, she'd notice instantly. But she wasn't, yet the fear of discovery still gripped him. Then came the faint sound of movement, outside the door, unmistakable now. Footsteps. Ryan froze. Every instinct screamed that someone was approaching. He had no time to finish, no chance to check his reflection. The darkness, which had once been empowering, now felt oppressive. A cage that concealed both him and the unfolding chaos. He crouched slightly, trying to steady his breathing. His mind raced. Should he hide? Should he retreat into the shadows, risking imbalance in the heels and a potential fall? Or should he continue, embracing the persona he had been building, daring the intruder to see him as he truly was? Every option carried risk. Every hesitation intensified the suspense. The door handle rattled. Panic surged. He was so close to completing the transformation, yet the threat of exposure loomed. In that moment he felt something extraordinary, a physical change, subtle but undeniable. His features softened further, his body seemed lighter, his posture instinctively more feminine. It was no longer just clothing and makeup. It was a complete shift in his identity, catalyzed by the darkness and the adrenaline. The intruder entered, a neighbor mistakenly drawn by a noise. Ryan froze, breath shallow. The neighbor's eyes widened at the sight of the figure in heels, skirt swaying, makeup imperfect yet stunning. Ryan's heart raced. He felt caught between fear and exhilaration. Should he speak, apologize, or pretend nothing had happened? Every choice could expose the secret he had guarded so closely. A misstep in the heels sent him teetering. In the panic, a wig shifted, brushing across his cheek. It was a symbolic moment. A visual representation of his dual identity being tested in front of an unexpected audience. The neighbor gasped. Ryan's heart stopped. Time seemed to slow. He realized he was now living the persona fully, and there was no retreat. Not from the intruder, not from himself. His mind raced as he balanced on the heels, feeling the fabric of the skirt against his thighs, the silk of the blouse on his arms, the cool metal of the jewelry. The transformation was complete, visibly, tangibly, but the stakes had never been higher. Every movement was a negotiation between fear and confidence, vulnerability and boldness. The neighbor, frozen in the doorway, whispered, Are you okay?" Ryan's voice caught in his throat. His vocal cords now felt unfamiliar, lighter, softer, matching the appearance he had cultivated. Panic and exhilaration clashed. Should he answer, risking exposure, or stay silent, letting the suspense build further? He took a shaky step forward. The click of the heels echoed like a drumbeat, signaling the completion of his transformation and the full embrace of the new identity. Yet the danger remained. The intruder's presence was real, immediate, and undeniable. Every heartbeat amplified the uncertainty, the thrill, and the emotional intensity of the moment. Ryan's reflection in the nearest glass pane, distorted but revealing enough, showed the duality of the situation. A person caught between two worlds. The soft curves, the delicate makeup, the graceful posture, all fully realized. Yet the fear of exposure and the unknown consequences lingered. The darkness, which had started as a challenge, had led him to an uncontrollable transformation, leaving him exhilarated and terrified. Suddenly the intruder moved closer, voice soft but cautious. I didn't expect this." Ryan realized the suspense was now shared. The secret that had once been private was teetering on the edge of revelation. His thoughts raced. What would Isabella think? What would friends or family see? Could he ever go back, or had the transformation crossed a point of no return? Every detail, the sway of the skirt, the click of heels, the gentle brush of a wig, told a story of vulnerability and courage. The room, still dark, amplified every sensation. Ryan's identity, his secret, and his emotions were now fully intertwined, creating a climax of suspense, transformation, and dramatic tension. In that heightened moment, a loud knock at the main entrance jolted him. Not the neighbor. This was Isabella. Her return had come earlier than expected. Ryan froze, heart hammering. The duality he had embodied, the thrill and the fear, now collided with reality. Could he hide, explain, or would everything he had embraced be revealed in a single instant? The scene paused on this suspenseful precipice. Ryan, fully transformed, standing in the dark, the sound of Isabella's approach echoing, the uncertainty of exposure hanging thick in the air. Every heartbeat, every movement, every sensation built the ultimate tension. The climax was complete, emotionally, physically, and dramatically, but resolution remained just out of reach. Ryan's heart thundered in his chest as the sound of Isabella's footsteps grew louder. Every sense was heightened. The faint rustle of his skirt, the delicate swish of his heels, the slight shift of the wig on his head. The darkness, which had once been a playground for his secret thrill, now felt like a trap closing in. He pressed himself against the wall, trying to steady his breathing. The full transformation was complete, his reflection mirrored in the faint glimmer of a glass surface. Soft features, flowing hair, delicate hands, and a presence entirely different from the person he had been just hours before. For the first time he saw himself fully as her, and the reality struck him like a shockwave. There was no going back, not entirely. Isabella's voice echoed, teasing yet suspicious. "Ryan? Are you here? I thought I heard something." Panic and exhilaration collided. Ryan's mind raced. Should he speak? Should he hide? Should he step forward and reveal the truth, risking judgment, or maintain silence, praying she wouldn't notice the subtle shift in his appearance, his voice, his presence? The heels clicked softly as he adjusted his stance, the skirt swaying with each slight movement. A soft breath escaped him, a whisper that seemed louder than it should have been in the tense silence. Every second stretched into eternity. The darkness held him hostage, the transformation held him captive, and the possibility of discovery loomed like a predator. Isabella's footsteps stopped just beyond the doorway. Ryan could feel her presence without seeing her, every nerve on edge. He imagined her expression, confused, amused, maybe even suspicious. The risk of exposure had never felt more real. His fingers brushed a strand of hair behind his ear, an unconscious gesture that highlighted his new identity and made him painfully aware of the dual life he now lived. Suddenly, a faint squeak, an innocuous sound from the floor, made Isabella take a cautious step forward. Ryan froze completely, body rigid, eyes wide in the semi-darkness. The seconds dragged, each one amplifying the suspense. Would she enter the room? Would she recognize the subtle, irreversibly changed Ryan standing before her? A shadow moved closer and Ryan's mind raced through every possible scenario. Should he reveal himself now and risk everything? Or should he stay hidden, letting the suspense build until he could find a safer moment? Every instinct screamed conflicting advice. Then a whisper of a laugh, soft, teasing but uncertain, broke the tension. Isabella was near, closer than he expected. Ryan felt a sudden urge to step forward, to embrace the thrill and the vulnerability of his new self. But hesitation gripped him, a frozen second where courage and fear collided. And then, the final moment of suspense. The doorknob turned slowly, the creak of the hinges slicing through the tense silence. Ryan's heart skipped, breath caught, and for a heartbeat, time itself seemed suspended. The room held a delicate balance between exposure and secrecy, between the thrill of his transformation and the terrifying reality that Isabella might discover everything. The story pauses here, leaving viewers on edge. Ryan, fully transformed, stands in the semi-darkness, his dual identity hanging by a thread, the sound of Isabella approaching echoing like a countdown. Will she notice? Will he be caught? Or will he somehow maintain the delicate secret he has so carefully nurtured? This unresolved tension invites speculation, engagement, and interaction. Viewers are left asking, what would you do in Ryan's position? Would you reveal the secret or stay hidden? How might Isabella react? The cliffhanger closes with the ultimate question. Ryan's life, his identity, and his secret are on the verge of exposure, and the darkness that once empowered him now threatens to unravel everything.